Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Energy Upgrade California webinar on accessing PG&E rebates in the SMUD service territory. My name is Bruce Mass. I'm the Director of Programs at Build a Green. Build a Green, as you hopefully know, is a nonprofit organization that has been tasked with administering rebates for PG&E under the Energy Upgrade California. Just looking at the sign-up list of folks coming in, we've got looks like 20, 30 people on the line. Hopefully all of you are doing work in the SMUD territory and participating in the SMUD program. That's great. A couple housekeeping issues. You're all on mute right now. There's a little question box where you can submit questions as you go along, and I want to stop periodically in the presentation and review the questions that have come in so far and try to keep up with those. I'm afraid it's not quite as fan-friendly as I would like with this webinar format. You will have another opportunity to talk with us face-to-face next week. SMUD is organizing an in-person workshop for participating contractors and has invited the PG&E team to be part of that. My colleague Young Chen is going to attend that, and you'll have a chance to ask her more questions then. Hopefully today you'll get a lot of your questions answered about what's going on with the PG&E rebates and kind of what has changed since June when PG&E transitioned from a pilot program to a full program. So let's talk a little bit more about the program for this morning. So what I wanted to go through is just a condensed version of our participation workshop content where we go through and just kind of explain how the program works. And I've got a boiled down version I wanted to talk through with you this morning, really highlighting areas that, to my knowledge, are different from the pilot or different from what SMUD's doing. And I guess before I get into this, one of the reasons we're doing this workshop is that we've recently learned that some of our emails and webinars and other communications that we've been counting on to get the word out haven't necessarily been getting to the right people, and the right people haven't necessarily been hearing about the changes that have been afoot. Had one conversation just the other day with a SMUD contractor that did not realize that he had to go through a separate rebate application process in order to get the rebate for the gas portion of his energy savings for his customers, and of course he was clearly distressed, and I was distressed, and so we're trying to fix that by making sure that everyone's on the same page. So I'm going to be talking a lot about just kind of what may be different from how you experienced the program prior to June, and how your experience going through the PG&E process may be different than the SMUD process. We do have two buckets of rebate dollars that are both Energy Upgrade California, but they're two different buckets of money, one for SMUD, one for PG&E. It would be really great if we could put these all together and have one administrative process. There's some real practical reasons why we're not able to make that happen. One issue is that it'd be great if PG&E could administer the program for SMUD, but SMUD's money comes from the federal government, and it's got some strings attached. Things like historic preservation requirements, things like prevailing wage requirements, and so it would be really problematic if we mingled that money with PG&E's money, which comes from a different source and doesn't have those strings attached, and so we wanted to avoid that. It'd be really great if SMUD could administer this for PG&E, and everything would be all handy-dandy. The challenge there is, PG&E's big concern, and rightly so, is around combustion appliance safety with gas appliances in the home, and of course that's a concern for PG&E, but not SMUD, since PG&E is the gas and SMUD's the electric. And so there's some risk and some liability there that PG&E understandably is not willing to delegate. And so basically we end up with two pots of money, two parallel administrative processes that are pretty similar, but not identical. And so to access both the gas and the electric rebates, you need to understand how to go through these parallel administrative processes for your clients, and so that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about four general areas. One is just making sure that everyone's clear on kind of the scope of the PG&E rebates. Go through some of the specific enrollment requirements for contractors to access the the PG&E rebate dollars. Talk about some of the key things you need to know about the reporting and rebate application process, and then some of the key issues around field mentoring, quality assurance. As we go through each of these topics, there's kind of two scenarios that I'm going to try to address in parallel. One is kind of how things should work going forward under the assumption that you're applying for both the gas and electric rebates on the same day and kind of working your jobs through the process in parallel. And that's really the situation we'd like to get to, is that we're going through both these in parallel, and I think between the two teams for SMUD and PG&E, we can kind of keep your rebate processing kind of on the same track. So I'm going to talk about kind of how that should look in the ideal situation. And then as much as I can, I'm going to talk about kind of how we're treating jobs that have been going through the SMUD process over the last 3 months, and maybe they didn't get into the PG&E process because you didn't know in time or whatever the situation was. We are trying to account for those and get those jobs processed as well. So those kind of two scenarios I want to try and address as we go through here. So those are the 4 bullets that we're going to cover. So let's jump in. First area I want to talk about is just make sure that we're all clear about kind of the scope of the rebate program for, at least from the PG&E perspective. So a couple things to know. Property owner eligibility. In general, we're looking at single-family detached residences. That first bullet is important if you do any jobs outside the SMUD territory. If you're doing for a SMUD customer, the first bullet probably doesn't apply because they're going to get electric service from SMUD and they'll have propane, so they wouldn't be a PG&E customer at all, and so that's not an issue. And if you've got someone that's a propane customer but they get electric service from SMUD, you can still apply for SMUD as far as I know. So it's a non-issue from PG&E's perspective. The second bullet is important if you're applying for PG&E rebates. We're only able to accept new applications for projects for single-family detached residences. So that excludes condominiums, townhomes, 2- and 4-unit buildings. The reason for that is because we have not been able to develop a set of combustion appliance safety protocols that PG&E is comfortable with yet, and so that's actually an issue that's on the table, but I don't have any timeline for when we would be able to start accepting those. We have some jobs in the pipeline that came into the program either during the pilot or came to SMUD over the last 3 months that we're going to grandfather in, and we're going to kind of find a workaround for those. But those are special cases. You should not assume going forward that you can submit a condominium project and then we'll accept it. We'll kick it back to you. Next slide, just to spill a little bit, say a little bit more detail about, again, what's not part of the PG&E rebates. That first bullet is the most important one for most of you, that it needs to be a detached home. Of course, these other things generally probably apply also for SMUD. It's not a new home program. It's not for commercial. I don't know if SMUD's doing multifamily or not. PG&E is not. And it's not a single measure program, and this is important to understand. You can apply for single measure rebates from PG&E. You can get a rebate for PG&E for insulation or replacing a furnace or changing out your air conditioner, or pool pump rebate. Actually, let's set aside pool pump rebates for the moment. But let's talk about air conditioners and furnaces and insulation. You can get those rebates, but you cannot combine those rebates with a whole house rebate. It's one or the other. Of course, the rebate is going to be bigger if you're doing a whole house project, so you're going to want to do that instead of the single measure rebate. Now, there are measures that are outside the scope of the whole house program, and actually pool pumps is an example of that. If you were an electric customer, you could go for solar PV through PG&E, but in this case, you would do that through SMUD. But pool pumps is a really good example of a measure that's not part of the whole house scope.
Where's me?
So you could apply for a pool pump rebate in parallel with a whole house rebate, and that's not considered double dipping. So that's one thing to know. So the key is you can't get 2 rebates for the same measure, the same work scope. Next slide. The general rebate structure is similar. The dollar amounts are different between PG&E and SMUD. PG&E is SMUD is offering higher rebates. SMUD also offers tiers that go all the way up to 50%. If I understand correctly, the PG&E rebates cap out at 40% energy savings. What you need to know for your SMUD customers is that the energy savings that you're claiming for your jobs, some of it comes from gas end uses, some of it comes from electric end uses, and I'm going to really focus on the advanced jobs since that's where almost all the jobs are coming from. So basically, SMUD is paying, well, PG&E is paying the gas portion of the rebate, and SMUD is paying the difference. So the way PG&E and Build a Green on behalf of PG&E calculates that gas-only rebate is we first look at the total savings that you're claiming for the job, electric plus gas. And from that, we figure out what tier you fall into. So if it's 20%, you fall into that 2,000 tier. If it's 30%, we fall into the 3,000 tier. Right, so we figure out what tier you're in, what tier your job is in. Once we know the tier, we then go back and look at what portion of the total savings came from gas end uses. And we take that percentage and we multiply it by the rebate amount. So, for example, you got a job that generates, the Energy Pro model says it's going to generate 32% energy savings. Well, that puts you in the 30% savings tier, which would qualify for a 3,000 rebate if it was a combined gas and electric customer. But since it's gas only, we're going to look at the savings, and let's say that in this case, the gas savings accounts for 65% of, let's say 60%, so I can do the math a little easier. It accounts for 60% of the total energy savings. So we would take 60%, we'd multiply it by $3,000. That comes out to $1,800 if I did the math right. And that would be the gas portion of the rebate, and that's the amount that PG&E actually cut a check for. What SMUD would do then would, and this is something that's going to happen going forward, we're going to be working more closely with them to coordinate our rebate calculations. We'll communicate that rebate amount to SMUD. You know, we're going to pay $1,800 so that SMUD can go and for that same job figure out what the total rebate would be in their rebate scale, and you know, basically subtract out $1,800 and then pay the difference. So we can coordinate on those rebate amounts to make sure it adds up to the right number if we know going into it at the same time kind of what each party is paying out. So this is, we'll be able to coordinate for that on jobs going forward. It's going to be a little bit harder to coordinate on jobs that have already been processed through SMUD. So that's the key thing to know about the rebate calculations. Let's stop and see if there are any questions from the message boards here. And I'm here with my colleague Jeff Madledge is helping me with this. So we have 2 questions in the queue, is that right? What are the main differences between this program and the SMUD program other than the rebates, paperwork forms, what's needed on the contract, etc.? Well, that's an excellent question. That is the subject of the entire presentation. So I guess I'd ask the person asking the question if at the end of this, if there are more specific questions that I haven't addressed yet, make sure that you get those in the queue. I want to talk about those differences throughout the morning. Can you go over the PG&E authorization to receive customer info form and which box to check? I think this must be, if I understand the question right, it's about the form for authorization to get utility bills. We have a template for that, a form for doing that for PG&E that has the Build a Green information already filled out, and it's got the key boxes checked off. You should be able to download that from our contractor portal. And let me give you that URL right now in case you don't already have it. All of our interactions with contractors, almost entirely except for our email communications, are through our portal at www.builditgreenutility.org. Green, utility, U-T-I-L-I-T-Y, this is tough for me, .org. So on that site, that's where I'll be showing that to you a little bit later. That's where you would be updating your enrollment status. That's where you submit jobs. That's where you see our event calendar to RSVP for webinars and events. That's where you'll find our resources page, recordings of past webinars, templates. All of that is on that website. So it's a good site to bookmark. Another question came in here. Can we assume from here on out that you're going to be communicating with SMUD about the rebates so our clients can get the right amount, or do we need to be proactive about it and follow up with PG&E and SMUD to make sure everything is correct? The answer is yes. We've been in communication with CBPCA about how to do that. The key thing is that we need to have the opportunity to talk with each other and exchange rebate calculation information before either party has kind of finalized the process. So we can do it going forward. It's harder to do going backwards because we've got jobs where SMUD has already processed them and already sent the check, and now we're coming along after the fact and trying to catch up and process the PG&E rebate. And so for those historical jobs, we can't guarantee that the two checks add up to any particular amount, but I think we can do a better job of that going forward. Bruce, SMUD has a fast-track process. Will Build Green do the same? If not, why not? The answer to that is sort of yes. Let me give you the clear answer to that. When we do our pre-application reviews, the key thing we're looking for is it's an eligibility screen, making sure that we're screening that job and we're catching any issues that would make that job ineligible for rebate. And we do that, we do that up front to try to avoid unpleasant surprises on the back end. And we've had some cases where jobs have gone through the process for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into details, but it's gone through the process, and at the back end they're ready to apply for rebate, and we find out, oh, it's a propane customer, oh, it's this, it's that, and they're not eligible, and that becomes a big nightmare for everybody involved. And we've been troubleshooting those. We want to avoid those problems before we start, so that's the most important reason why we do the pre-application reviews. There are situations where you're going to need, 24-hour turnaround time. You've got, a broken air conditioning, need to go out there and get it fixed right away. The information that we need to do those reviews and the time it takes us to do those reviews is not something we can necessarily do in a 12-hour time frame. But if you understand kind of the risks of, what might cause your job to be ineligible, and if you're willing to assume those risks on your own, you're able to move forward and start that work, and the fact that you started that work before you got the notice to proceed does not in itself, make you ineligible. We're not going to penalize you for that. The only challenge for you is that it doesn't necessarily give you the assurance that you might want, that we have reviewed it, we've done our due diligence, and we've already confirmed that, based on everything you're showing us, that this job is going to be eligible when you come back to us at the end of the day. So that's our informal fast-track process. We were told that what was approved by CBPCA was going to be honored by PG&E. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when we get into the job application process. It's sort of true. It's not entirely true. The answer is a little bit more complicated than that. So we're going to talk about that in some detail. Can you give us the ineligibility criteria so we can be proactive and make it easier for you? Yes, some of this is going to come out in this webinar. I think it should be clear. So the first thing to know, as we just mentioned, is no 2 4-unit buildings, no multifamily, no condos, etc. No propane, which is, I think, for SMUD, not an issue. So let's keep going here. Let's talk a little bit more about the enrollment process. So part of the administrative process for PG&E is that we need to update contractor enrollment status. And what that meant was, and what that has meant is that anyone who was a participant in the pilot program, prior to June, was given a grace period to update their enrollment status. And there was a need to update it, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail about some of the changes in the program between the pilot and the full program. And so some of the enrollment criteria have changed, and we need to make sure that we've got current criteria. We also have a new participation agreement, and it's an agreement now with Build It Green and not CBPCA. So the fact that you had an agreement with CBPCA is great. We need you to execute a participation agreement with Build It Green. So we were giving contractors a grace period. We've extended that date a couple times. It finally expired on September 15th. Hopefully all of you have gone through that. We've had the list of participants from CBPCA, and we've been calling people aggressively and trying to get everybody's enrollment status update. If you have not yet gone through that process, what it means for you now is that we'll go ahead and process jobs for you that are already in the pipeline, but it means that we can't accept new jobs from you until you get that updated. So we're not going to penalize your customers that you've already signed deals with and you've already been working with, but we need you to update that before you can bring us any new jobs. So on the assumption that there's one or two of you out there that have not done this yet, let's go through and talk about what this is. And if you've already done this, this is a great time to grab a bagel or a cup of coffee and come back. So, yeah, the first thing, what I just said, you need to update your enrollment in order to submit new jobs. You may close out your active jobs without updating the enrollment. You just can't start new ones. So that's the most important thing you need to know. We've got a multi-step process. The first step in the process is attending a participation workshop. But if you're already enrolled through SMUD, I'm going to assume, we are going to assume that you already know enough about how the program works that you don't need to take a participation workshop. So we're not going to require that for someone who's already enrolled through SMUD. Going forward, some new contractor that we've never heard of before coming in the door, they need to take a participation workshop and go down that process. But all of you that have been in the SMUD program already, you've done step one, you're good to go. Let's move on to step two. What I'm calling step two is really a review of the eligibility requirements. And a few things here, my understanding, are different from the pilot and may be different from the SMUD eligibility as well. So a few things to pay attention to. I'm really going to focus primarily on the advanced package, since that's, again, where almost all of the program activity has been. The key thing there for us is that we're looking for contractors with a B license. And the rationale for that is that work scope for an advanced package can be just about anything. It could be air conditioner change out, it could be insulation, it could be changing windows, it could be putting on a cool roof, it could involve electrical upgrades, it can involve plumbing issues, it can involve just about anything. And so the best way for us to make sure we've got a good list of contractors who really are able to offer advanced package upgrades to most customers that would call them up is to ask our contractors to have a B license. And then we know that across the board they can either do the work themselves or they can subcontract for it. And it really, the intent here is to kind of limit homeowner frustration. You're calling up a bunch of contractors that are listed as advanced contractors, but none of them are actually able to do the work. So that's really what we're trying to do. Is these are the contractors who really can do this work. The insurance requirements, I'm guessing, are comparable to what you've been doing with SMUD. And let me say, there's more information, more details around this in our contractor handbook. I'll show you in a minute where to find that. General liability, business auto, workers' comp, we've got thresholds there for, I think, like $1 million in each of those categories. For the general liability, you do need to give us a certificate that names Build It Green as an additional insured and names PG&E as an additional insured. In general, those are pretty routine certificates that your insurance carrier should be able to produce for you. So I don't think that's too big a deal for people. Training for the advanced package, it's a bit of a non-issue right now. We are going to roll out an advanced package training. It's not the curriculum has not been approved yet. when it comes out, is going to cover some augmented combustion appliance safety protocols that are going to go in effect. It's going to delve more into some duct testing things that are not covered by BPI training. That training has not been approved yet, and so we're not holding anybody. It's not a requirement for anyone to take it. When that does come online, this will become kind of a new requirement that all of your building analysts will need to go and take that training so that they understand the new protocols. You'll have a grace period, probably 3 or 4 months, to take the training. It's going to be a one-day training. It'll almost certainly be over at the Stockton Training Center, and we'll have that training several days a month. So we have multiple opportunities to take that training. So we'll phase that in over time. So for the time being, right now, you don't need to worry about that training line item. The certification line item, I think this is the same between PG&E SMUD. We're looking for evidence that you've got at least one BPI certified professional on staff. And our definition of being on staff is the same definition for IRS purposes. That it's somebody that is on your payroll and you've got a W-2 and kind of all of those other things. We don't ask you to prove that they're an employee. We don't collect the W-2s. We're going to take you on your honor, but we are looking for staff. The agreement to the program terms and conditions, again, it's different from the agreement that you signed during the pilot, and so the old agreement is no longer in effect. You can download that agreement from our website. It's not too long, but we do need you to execute that. One of the key things about those terms and conditions in the agreement that I want to call out, and the area that I think has given contractors the most heartburn, has been around background checks. So this is a new requirement that we've instituted with the full program. This was not part of the pilot program, but it is part of the full program. We are asking you to list your employees and your subcontractors who will be going into customer homes, and we want to know their names, and we want permission to perform background checks on those employees, looking back over the last 7 years, and basically looking for a clean criminal record is what we're looking for. We are, it's not a fishing expedition. We've got a specific list of things we're looking for, and it's limited to 7 years. That's plenty long time. The way this works is that we don't do the background checks ourselves. We have outsourced that to a company that specializes in those kinds of services. They contact the employee and get permission directly from the employee to do the background check and collect the key identifying information they need. They go do a public record search, and they basically come back to us with a pass or fail. They do not tell us what they find in the record. They don't tell us the nature of anything that comes up. It's just pass or fail, and that's all we want to know. If you have an employee with a blemish on their record, it doesn't mean that your entire company is out of the program, but you do want to make sure that you're not sending that employee into a customer's home, at least not a customer that is participating in Energy Upgrade California. So that's the nature of the background check. It is it's a bit of a time-consuming process for some people. Of course, it depends on how many employees you've got. But we'll go back and forth with you, collect all the information we need for your employees. We'll run the checks, let you know what the outcome is. When we do have an appeals process, if we find something that's a false positive and you want an opportunity to clear that. But that has been, I'd say, probably the biggest challenge for folks. But it is an important part of the program, an important part of our consumer protection. So we take that seriously. So those are the key eligibility requirements. Let's talk a little bit more about the mechanics of how you would actually meet all those requirements and submit the documentation to us. This is what we call step 3. You would actually apply online at the website that I tried to spell out before, www.builditgreenutility.org, and it looks like it was spelled correctly here on this slide. That's always a plus. And it's set up so that you can do all the application online, that you don't have to submit any paper documentation. If you have a document that you only have in paper form, you can fax it to us and we'll scan it and attach it to your application. So that's okay, but you can send everything as a PDF file or as an electronic digital file and attach it and submit it all electronically. So you go to that website. Here's what the website actually looks like. That's the URL. This is the landing page, our contractor portal. And you'll see up there in the upper right-hand corner, there's a yellow button there that I've circled in red. Manage your account or enroll. And so if you want to update your enrollment status, that's the button you would click on. And the first thing it's going to do if you're coming to this site for the first time is going to take you to a page where you're going to set up a username and password for yourself. And this is a username and password specifically for the enrollment site. And so this is what gets you in to the rest of the screens where you get to attach documents and fill out the forms and submit your enrollment documents. On this same page, I didn't show it on this slide, but on this same page you'll find a list of attachments that you can download. So there you can download the participation agreement, the contractor handbook, the terms and conditions, the combustion compliance safety protocols, a couple documents about marketing and co-branding that are actually non-essential documents. But the key ones for your purposes, contractor handbook, participation agreement with the terms and conditions, and the combustion compliance safety protocols. Those are the three important documents that you can download from that page, and that tells you a lot about what you need to know in order to move forward. This next slide shows you just a list of the specific documents that we use to demonstrate all of those eligibility requirements that I talked about before. So you're going to upload for us a signed participation agreement. You're going to give us your CSLB license, evidence of being in business for 2 years. So the best evidence for that is just a photocopy of your license from CSLB that shows that you've got your contractor's license for more than 2 years. You've got BPI certified employees on staff. You want to send us copies of their certificates so that we have that information. The certificates of insurance that names Building Green and PG&E as a named additional insured, you'll attach that. There's a web form that you'll fill out where you'll put in the employees that have access to customer homes. And one thing to say here is, we don't really need to know about your back office staff. We don't need to know the name of your receptionist and who makes the coffee and those kinds of things. We care about the names of the people who are going into customer homes. That's what we care about. Your sales staff, your field crews, those folks. Through that, you'll provide us those authorizations to conduct background checks. We'll do those checks for you and report out on the results. So those are the key things. All of that can be input through this portal that I just showed you. So let's pause there for a moment and go back to the message boards and see if there are specific questions about contractor enrollment. And Jeff, go ahead and Jeff, tell me what you're seeing here on the questions. Okay. It looks like we didn't get any questions coming in specifically about the enrollment process. I'm going to take that as a good sign that that is pretty self-explanatory, or even better, that you've already gone through the process, and so it's too late. So why don't we get into the more interesting stuff here, which is around actually getting your job submitted and getting your rebates processed, and how to make this work better. So we've got a 6-step process, and I believe this general workflow should be familiar to you. I believe it's essentially the same workflow that you experienced as part of the PG&E pilot, and the same workflow that you experience today as part of the SMUD program. So you're starting out, you're going out and doing a site assessment for a prospective customer, figuring out what they need, helping to develop a scope of work, doing all your test-ins, doing your performance tests, doing your combustion appliance safety tests, and then developing a proposal, and then bringing that back to the program, bring it to SMUD, bring it to PG&E, submitting that for review. And that's that key step where we would review that, and in particular screening for eligibility review and looking for fatal flaws. That would be a big headache after the fact, trying to catch those up front. Our review translates into a notice to proceed that goes back. If you want to be cautious, you'd wait for that notice to proceed, and then you would start the work. Step 3, when the work is complete, you would test out. You'd bring that same information back to us as the post-installation. We'd do a second review and process that rebate request. So I'm going to talk about these steps in a little bit more detail. One thing, again, to say about this, talking about kind of what happened in the past versus what happens going forward. So going forward, we would like these processes to happen in parallel. So, the same day that you submit a job to SMUD, you submit the same job to PG&E. We're going to do our review as fast as we can, get a response back to you ASAP, hopefully within kind of the same time frame on both sides. So you're getting that feedback in sync. You can start work. When you come back with your rebate request, again, you would submit it to both SMUD and PG&E at the same time, so we can be processing those in parallel, hopefully turning those around in a pretty similar time frame. So basically these go in sync, and at any given time you can kind of see where your job is at in both systems and see if there's issues arising in one that or the other. So we can kind of troubleshoot those and avoid getting too much out of sync. Now that's great going forward. It doesn't necessarily address what happened over the last 3 months, and we've had several coordination meetings with SMUD and with CBPCA, and what we've learned is that information didn't necessarily get out to SMUD contractors in a timely fashion about some of these changes, and so some contractors didn't know they needed to apply for the PG&E rebates. And so we've got a bunch of jobs right now that have gone through the SMUD process already from start to finish, haven't even started through the PG&E process. And so what we did is we agreed with SMUD that SMUD and CBPCA would basically provide us a list of all of the jobs that they received up through August 11th. And we took those jobs, and basically we're treating those jobs in our system now as if they've already gone through the pre-application review and they have a notice to proceed. So we don't have to start from the beginning. We can start now with the post-installation step. And the rationale behind that is, well, it's already gone through the SMUD process. You've already started work. So the idea of doing a pre-installation review just doesn't make any sense anymore. We're too late for that. We would love to be able to just, take the post-installation review from SMUD and just say, okay, yeah, we take that result as well. We're not able to do that. Building Green is still accountable for the quality of the information and the quality of the review that goes to PG&E for those jobs that we're cutting rebates for. So we still have to do our due diligence at the back end to review those jobs, make sure that they meet program standards, and if they don't, then we've got troubleshooting that we need to do with you to either figure out how to resolve that or how we're going to handle that. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible, but we do need to do our own due diligence. So the key thing is that your jobs are grandfathered in through the notice to proceed stage. So that's basically through step 4, but you're not grandfathered in for step 5 and 6. So you still need to complete step 5 and 6 through PG&E, even for those jobs that you've already closed out with SMUD. So that's an important thing to understand, and I think that information may not have been as clear as it needed to be in the past. So hopefully we can clear that up here today. So going into a little bit more detail about the individual steps. On the site assessment, again, this should be consistent with what you're doing today. The one thing I just want to stress here, and you may be doing this already, you may not, but as part of that initial site assessment, we ask you to go ahead and do your combustion appliance safety test. Don't wait until you're starting the job to do that. Do that during your assessment phase when you're developing your scope of work. And there's an important reason why we ask you to do that. If there's any kind of combustion safety issue in that home, it needs to be fixed as part of the job. At the end of the job, you cannot walk away and leave outstanding combustion safety issues. If we find one, we will make you fix it, and it doesn't matter if the homeowner said, "No, don't fix it. I'm not going to pay for it." We don't care. We will make you fix it. So to avoid getting into that situation where you've got this unpleasant surprise at the end and you have to haggle with the homeowner about who's going to pay for it, the way to avoid that is to look for that up front when you're developing your scope. Do your combustion safety test. If there is an issue, you have that information. You can make sure it gets into your scope of work, and you can build it into the scope. It's not an optional add-on thing. It's a core part of your work scope to make sure the combustion safety issues are checked. And so you need to test for that to make sure that you haven't overlooked something, and so you don't trigger a change order. So that's why we ask for those combustion safety test results when we do our pre-application review. We want to confirm that you looked at that and that you've reflected that in your work scope. Those are the key things to say about that, I believe. Let's move on. I can't stress enough how important the combustion safety issue is. Again, PG&E is providing gas service to your customers, and gas end uses are the source of concern here. We want to make sure that every job that is an energy upgrade job is a safe job, without exception. And so we're going to be very diligent about checking those results, checking your test results, making sure that we have complete information and that you're leaving the job in a good state. Going forward, there is going to be an augmented set of standards, of combustion safety protocols that in addition to the BPI protocols. So today the protocols in place are the BPI protocols. That's the standard we will hold you to. We are holding you to now. But there is a set of augmented protocols that are coming. When those are finalized, we'll roll them out. We will train you on those. There will be a grace period to learn them, but we will expect you then to apply those augmented protocols when they come out. Basically what the story behind that is, in the pilot, PG&E went out and looked at a number of the jobs, looked at the combustion safety results, and what they found was that the BPI protocols were pretty good, but there were some gaps. There were some things that the BPI protocols don't have you test for that were just gaps. And so these augmented protocols fill in those gaps borrowing some protocols from the natural gas appliance test to make sure that we fill it in, and so we have a complete picture of the combustion safety in that home. So I really want to stress how important that is. Until those augmented protocols come into effect, PG&E is going out through their central inspection program, and they are testing every single house that gets a PG&E rebate, every single house. And it's PG&E staff that come out after the fact. So you can be confident that your house will get tested, and if their CIP program finds a problem, we'll call you and we'll ask you to fix it. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that every one of these jobs has a clean bill of health. Next slide. The job submission process. We have a tracking system for tracking these jobs. It's called Green Energy Compass. This is different from the Vision system that you're using for SMUD. You can access Green Energy Compass through that same portal that I showed you before, same URL there, buildagreenutility.org. We'll talk here in a moment the documentation that we're looking for. And we have essentially a two-step process. Our first step is to go through a technical review, and this is really where we get into the heart of the scrutiny. We're looking at your work scope, comparing that to what went into the energy model, checking the baseline conditions you're reporting in the energy model, making sure that that all makes sense, checking your combustion safety results, making sure we understand that, just all of the technical details, making sure that that everything checks out. Once we've completed that technical review, we pass your job off to one of our team members to do an administrative review, and this is a shorter punch list, just making sure that, yeah, it really is a PG&E customer, that the person who did that combustion safety test really is a BPI professional, that you're not claiming 2 rebates for the same improvements. That's that double dipping rule. Just we have a short list of those things that we're checking the administrative, and it's a shorter checklist, but it's a separate step. Go through both of those steps. and then we move you on for a notice to proceed, and you'll get a letter that comes from the Build a Green team that says we've checked everything out. We've got this formal notice to proceed that you can move forward. Got a fact sheet on this in our document library that outlines this process in detail. Let's say a little bit more about the documentation that goes with that. The documentation for a basic package and advanced package, virtually identical. The key difference is that, of course, for the advanced package, you've got an Energy Pro model along with the other documentation. Most of this should look familiar. There's a JRT. It's an Excel file that should look suspiciously like the version you're using for SMUD. There's a lot of similarities. There's some differences because we need a little bit different information for our internal processes. There's a PDF file where you log your combustion safety test results. That second document is optional right now. It applies for the augmented procedures that are not finalized yet. There's two Energy Pro files that you send to us. The BLD file, it gives us all the inputs so that we can review your models and review all the assumptions. And then you're giving us an Econ 2 report in XML format. So that's that XML file. Both of those files you upload to us. At the pre-application stage, you can give us a scope of work. It doesn't have to be a signed contract at this point, but something that shows what you provided to your customer with a proposal that we can compare with the Energy Pro model and just see that there's consistency between what you're modeling and what you've told the customer you can do. And then we have a place where you can attach extra documentation like photos and things like that. So this is the core set of documentation. The way you give that to us is you go back to that portal at buildagreenutility.org, and you'll see there on the right side that second button, Participating Contractors, Submit and Track Jobs. Click that button. When you do that, that takes you to the login page for Compass. Now, this email and password is not the same email and password you used at the enrollment stage. When you went through the enrollment stage, you submitted all that, you completed the enrollment, and you were approved as a participating contractor, you should receive an email at that point that gives you a new password for Compass. All right, so the password that you used before is not the one you used for Compass. It's something that you would get in with your email, kind of welcome to the PG&E rebate program, here's your password. That's the password that you use to log in here. And when you log in, you're going to get a dashboard and you'll be able to see your jobs. And if you haven't logged in before, but you've submitted jobs to SMUD before, hopefully when you log in, you will see those same jobs in Compass because CBPCA has already told us about them. So we will see, there will be a record there. We won't have all the details that you gave CBPCA, but we'll at least have a record that has been started that says, these are the jobs that we're expecting to see from you. We're expecting to get an application from you on this list. And you'll see that. And then you can add new jobs. So here's what it looks like to add a new job. To add a new job, there's a button. I didn't show you the button where you click on to add a new job, but it takes you to the screen where you define that job. And you're giving that job a name. You're putting in the address, the homeowner's contact information, and there's some basic information about the job, your build condition area, number of occupants. Not terribly detailed, but you're giving us some basic parameters about the job that just defines what this job is. And so you fill out this screen. It's one screen. When you've done that, for a new job, there's a place, I haven't showed you this, but there's a place to add meters. So you add an electric meter, you'll add a gas meter. For the PG&E rebate, of course, it's that gas meter that is important here. You're going to put in a service ID, the gas service ID. And I need to direct you to a fact sheet about where to find that service ID on your customer's utility bill so you can give us the right number there. And that's important. And then once you've defined that job, you go and you start attaching files. So here is where you attach the files that I described before. That BLD file, that's your Energy Pro input file. You can attach a JRT, you can attach your scope of work, your combustion safety measurement form. If you want to attach photos, there's a place to attach photos. So this is a screenshot of an actual job with files attached. So just attach those files, and then there's a button that I haven't showed on the screen, but there's a button where you hit submit. And when you hit submit, that puts that job on our plate to review. And until you hit submit, it's not on our court. So that's the key step that tells us, go to green, go to work. And so when you log on, you might see a bunch of jobs in different states, and you might have some that say application started. And if it's started, then it's on your plate. If it's submitted, then it's on our plate. We'll go through, we'll review it, and we'll either approve or reject it. And if it's rejected, it will show back up on your list as pre-application returned. And if it's approved, you'll say pre-application pending, and then those to proceed. So it'll work through the review process. So once you've submitted these jobs, we're going to do our review, work it through, get you to a notice to proceed state. You're going and doing the work. This should be exactly what you're doing now, so there shouldn't be anything different here. Hopefully you're already pulling your building permit, so there's nothing new there. At the end of the job, you're closing it out. You're doing your post-installation assessment. Hopefully you're doing this already. There's nothing new here. If you made any changes to the work scope, or if your results are different at the end from what you thought they were going to be at the beginning, you would go back and update your Energy Pro model so it reflects what you actually did. And then you're going to go right back through the application process, and it's the same process again. Step 5. There's one difference on our end. On our end, we still have a technical review. We still have an administrative review. One more step that we take before we process the rebate is that we call the homeowner. And we ask them, hey, Mr. and Ms. Homeowner, did your contractor do a combustion appliance safety test at the end? Did they test out? Did they share those results with you? And we fervently hope that the answer is yes. And if it's yes, we're good. Thank you very much. You're good to go. We process the rebate. If it's no, then we have to investigate. And that's a big problem. In worst case scenario, we actually have to go out on site and redo the test because we don't have any confirmation that the test was done before. So it's very important for you when you're working with your customer to educate them about what you're doing, educate them about these combustion safety tests and what these results mean, and educate them to the fact that you really did test out, and this is a service that you're offering, and your competitors don't do this, and they're not watching out for your customers' health and safety. You are, but you need to educate them on that so that when we call, they know what went on, and they know, yes, the answer is yes. So I really want to stress that. Saying a little bit more, like I say, the data collection is virtually identical to what you've already seen. It's the same general forms, the same Energy Pro structure. It's updated to reflect the actual conditions. The one difference here is that now instead of a proposal, we're looking for that signed contract that says this is what the homeowner actually committed to. And one other thing we're looking for under the supplemental is a copy of your building permit or documentation that you pulled the permit. So that's the only nuance, and everything else is the same. You log back on the Compass, attach files, hit submit, we review, approve, or reject. The same process flow at the post-installation phase as the pre-installation phase. So it should be pretty similar. Step 6 is, this is now all on our plate. We're processing that rebate. We want to talk a little bit more about what the field verification and the quality assurance looks like. As I said before, PG&E Central Inspection Unit is going to come out, for the time being, they're coming out and physically inspecting every single job that gets a PG&E rebate. So you might as well prepare your customers for that. They're going to get a call from PG&E. They're going to redo the combustion safety tests. So you want those tests to be good. So if you haven't figured out by now, PG&E really cares about combustion safety, and so do we. Some contact information for you here about the rebate process so you know who to call. Toll-free hotline here, 866-970-7348. You can call, and our call center can route you to the right person that can help answer your question. or you can send us an email. Got a job processing question you wants to help you with, send it over to jobs@builditgreenutility.org. If you've got questions that aren't about this whole house rebate, PG&E's got a Smarter Energy line. We don't answer that phone line. Talk to them if you want a pool pump rebate or something like that. Talk to us if you have questions about your whole house rebate. One last set of comments about the job process, and I'm going to stop for questions again. A couple things to know that I'm pretty sure are different between the SMUD and the PG&E process. Number one, on the energy modeling, we're not able to accept kind of two-model approaches for demonstrating energy savings. This is flexibility I know that the CBPCA team has. We don't have that. The way that Green Energy Compass is programmed is constrained to a single model. There are a number of cases where the conventional wisdom is that you need two models. In our experience, there are actually ways to model those with a single model. So we can help you with that. It's not actually as difficult as it sounds. There are ways to do some averaging to come up with some models that are reasonably robust for our purposes and perfectly acceptable for us. So so far that has not been a deal killer for us. Recurve models, we would love to accept recurve software. It has not been approved by the Energy Commission, and so until it has, we're not accepting recurve models. It's strongly recommended, but not absolutely required that you give us billing histories. And I want to say a little bit more about taking pictures. This can save you a lot of headaches if you take pictures of your work. And there are several areas, especially at the pre-installation phase, where a picture can just head off questions. Several areas where we tend to have questions. One is when you tell us that you've got some super high duct leakage. Duct leakage that exceeds 30%. We don't reject that out of hand, but we ask you questions about that. And we like to see a photo of your manometer that shows your duct pressure measurements, so that you can show us, yeah, it really was the number that we said. When you show us that takes care of a lot of stuff. Same thing with your envelope leakage when you're doing your blower door test. If you're reporting leakage numbers that are more than about 2 CFM per square foot, we're going to scratch our head and we're going to look at that really carefully, and we might ask you about that. And if you can show us a picture of your manometer, that takes care of it. So take pictures. If you've got a recent vintage home, it's a 1995 home, and you tell us that there's no insulation in that attic, we're going to wonder about that, because we know that by the building code that it should have been built with insulation to start with, and so we're going to ask questions about that. But if you can show us a picture that shows this is the state of the insulation when we got there, that takes care of it. So take pictures of everything you do, everything you see, document your findings so that if and when we have questions, you can just show us the picture and away we go. We're happy with that. So I really want to stress that. Notes and sketches also help in that regard. So and what that does is that saves us the trouble of having to go on site and investigate. And when we don't want to have to go on site, we want to be able to take your word for it, and that lets us do all of our work from our desktop, and that enables us to streamline our review. So that helps us a lot, helps you too. So let's pause there and see how we're doing on the question and answer front. So if SMUD approves the install before PG&E, can we install? So again, for jobs going forward, you can install at your own risk. If we have not completed our pre-installation review, we reserve the right to come back and find some fatal flaw. If there's a fatal flaw, we have an obligation to call it out. So you bring us a job that we're not able to accept, but that SMUD approved it, then we're going to tell you as soon as we can. But that's why we're trying to keep these in sync, so that you don't that you get all of the information in a timely fashion, and you can work with a full set of information when you're working with your customer. So again, I just want to stress, if you have a job that received a notice to proceed from SMUD before August 11, then that job has a notice to proceed from Build a Green. It does not have a rebate approval, but it does have a notice to proceed, and that cutoff date is August 11th. If it's since August 11th, then you need to bring it to us and kind of start the process from the beginning. But anything prior to August 11th, we're going to honor those notice to proceed that have already been issued, and then we're going to get caught up here and get in sync so that you can process these jobs in parallel. What do we do if our client had a 2 model and Energy Pro on the pre-install? Do we need to talk to you offline about submitting that client? Yes. We're going to have to redo the model because we simply cannot process a rebate that has 2 Energy Pro models. We do not have the technical capability to do it. So we're going to have to work with this. It's going to be one of those exception cases where we're just going to have to troubleshoot it with you. And it doesn't reject the job outright, but it's an exceptional case that's going to require special consideration. Does PG&E require a copy of utility bills? The answer is no. We encourage it. We ask for it, and we may require it in the future. But as of today, it is not a mandatory requirement. Now, Compass is going to require you to put some information in about utility consumption. We've got a whole webinar about submitting a job through Compass. It's recorded. It's on the portal, so I'm not going to go into all that detail here. But the webinar explains exactly how to fill in the meter information and what to do if you don't have utility bills in front of you. So please review that recording so that you understand exactly what you need to do and you don't get tripped up when you submit a job and we reject it. Will PG&E personnel be going to CAS test every customer? The answer is yes. Who do we call to get help with the 2 model questions? Call that hotline number or send an email to us through that email address that I put on the screen there a few minutes ago, and we'll route you to the right person. We've got a few people that could help you with that, so go through our hotline so we can route you to the person that can get to your question as quickly as possible. Can you give us a detailed example of how to calculate the PG&E rebate portion so we can provide a clear picture to our customers? I will. Let me say that when you submit your pre-application through Compass, Compass does that calculation for you. So you may be in the proposal stage with your customer. You can bring that information and start the job in Compass and upload the key thing is you got to upload that Energy Pro XML file. That's the key thing we need on that. And then you can calculate the rebate amount right in Compass, and it will tell you the exact amount that job would be eligible for based on the savings you've told us from the Energy Pro model. So, for example, you've run your model, and it comes up with 23% total energy savings, and that total, it's, I don't know how many BTUs of savings that is, but 60% or 70% of the BTUs come from gas and 30% come from electric. So that 22% savings overall that you qualified would have qualified you for a $2,000 rebate if you had a gas electric customer for PG&E, but it's gas only, so we take $2,000, we multiply it by the 70% to account for the gas end uses, and the final rebate would be $1,400. And so that's the multiplication that's happening on the back end for your advanced jobs. And that calculation is happening in Compass, so you can confirm what that expected rebate amount is based on the Energy Pro results. Now, be aware, if your Energy Pro changes between the pre-application and the post-application, then the rebate calculation changes. So what you calculate up front does not get locked in stone. It's based on what you bring us at the end. But you get this kind of upfront, kind of advanced expectation. What kind of things qualify as a fatal flaw? Obviously, if the job is multifamily, that can't accept that. If we review the Energy Pro model and there are flaws in the model that drop the savings below 15%, that is a fatal flaw. If you're not giving us combustion safety results, we cannot approve that. If there are glaring discrepancies between the Energy Pro model and the scope of work, and you're telling us one thing but you promised the customer something else, that's a fatal flaw. So we've got a review list that we're looking for, and we're actually finalizing a list that we're actually going to publish. So you'll see exactly what we're reviewing and what we're checking, and when we reject it outright, and when we just wag our finger at you, and when we ask you to do better next time. So that's a detailed review list that we are going to be sharing with you. And when you have that list, I think you'll feel a lot more comfortable kind of deciding for yourself whether you think that you're going to kind of skate through fine or whether you're likely to run into problems. Question about knowing the percentage of BTUs from firms calculation, how the percentage of BTUs from firm calculations perform. So it's based on the Energy Pro results. So Energy Pro, as you may know, calculates the energy savings that comes from all the end uses affected by the improvements that you make in the home, or what you modeled. So if you model a set of improvements that changes the furnace consumption and the gas water heating consumption, and those are gas end uses, then that's going to be attributed to gas savings, and the energy that was saved from reducing your cooling load or your lighting load, that's going to be counted as electric end use savings. And all of that is calculated in Energy Pro. We're using site energy savings here, not TDV. We're using site energy savings. And Energy Pro figures out what's gas and what's electric. And Compass goes in and takes that information from the Energy Pro Econ 2 report and uses it to calculate those ratios. So that's how it's done. Again, it's helpful for you to know how to do those calculations, but you don't necessarily have to do them yourself. You can, in fact, the most reliable way to do it is to see what Compass spits out. And if your numbers differ, then we should investigate that. But it's the Compass numbers that are really the important number to check. If you have a PG, I'm reading a question now from the message board. If you have a PG&E customer that wants to go with a different contractor, will the original contractor be required to provide all Energy Pro software as in the SMUD program? I'm not sure I understand the question, to be honest. Actually, a colleague thinks that she understands the question. I'm going to put you on mute here until we confirm amongst ourselves. So we think the question relates to a scenario where homeowner starts a job with one contractor and then midway switches to a different contractor. And I don't know if the homeowner has signed a contract with the first one, and then I don't quite understand what's going on behind the scenes. What we most care about, well, let me say this. Let's assume that contractor A brings us a job as a proposal, and we review it, and it goes, and we actually review it and approve it, and it's now in a notice to proceed. We've actually had a couple cases where two different contractors gave bids for the same job. They both submitted applications. We reviewed them both. We gave them both notices to proceed. Of course, they hadn't both, only one of them executed a contract with the homeowner. The other job is sitting there in our system. We'll cancel that one. It does become a challenge if we gave the notice to proceed to one contractor, now another contractor comes back with the post-installation, because you're going to go in there and you're not going to have access to the job that for the old contractor. So if you have a situation like that, we're going to need to find some kind of manual workaround in our system, because the second contractor is not going to see the pre-installation results for the first contractor, and you're not going to be able to start a post-installation application without the pre-installation stuff. So you're going to have to contact us. We're going to have to troubleshoot those offline, because it's not part of our standard workflow. Does the test out have to be a HERS 2 rater? No. No, neither test in nor test out need to be a HERS 2 rater. There may be situations where you or your customer need a HERS 2 rater. For example, if you want to get an energy efficient mortgage, or if you want to get financing through CHF, those financing programs require HERS 2 results. We're not administering those financing programs. We do not require HERS 2 results. All we require is that the contractor of record, who is a participating contractor, submit us the test out results, and that the test out was done per BPI standards, and that the combustion safety test results are per BPI standards and per PG&E protocols. So that's what we're looking for. And if you want to have a HERS rater in the process, that's the contractor's decision, but we do not mandate that. Yeah, so we have two questions on that. Can we do our own test out? And the answer is yes. You can test out, do your own test out all day long, and the key is that you've got a duly qualified person to do that. So the test out should be by a BPI certified professional, but if you're doing advanced jobs, you have a BPI certified professional on staff, and so you should be able to do that. For the clients that will be grandfathered into the program, should we call the whole house rebate phone number to start that conversation? And let me confirm, it is any clients before August 11th. So yes, it's any clients for whom you have a notice to proceed before August 11th. Right. So and that's a key distinction. So if you have that, if you have not already logged into Compass, you should log into Compass, check and see if that job is already there, because it should be. CBPCA has told us the list of jobs that they have on their records as of August 11th, and we have started entries in our system. So there should be an entry for those jobs, and you should find it. Now, it doesn't have any energy profiles attached, and it doesn't have a JRT, and it doesn't have any of that other stuff that we need to review. So it's just sitting there right now waiting for you to come and submit your rebate application. So log on, look for your jobs, compare it to your own list. If your list is different from what you see in Compass, call us, because we need to figure out where these other jobs went. We need to see if we missed one and CPCA didn't give it to us, or they gave it to us and we didn't upload it, or what happened to us. We need to make sure that we track those down and don't miss any. That's really important. And right now I can say we've got a whole bunch of jobs that are at the notice to proceed stage that are flagged as SMUD jobs, and they're just sitting there and we're not seeing any activity. So we want to get those moving. So log on as soon as you can. You should hopefully all have an email with your username and password if you haven't logged in before. And if you don't have your username and password, shoot us an email over to that jobs@builditgreenutility.org so we can track that down and get it to you and get you going. What other financing programs are contractors using? CHF, GeoSmart, what else? Those are kind of the main ones that I'm aware of. It's actually a little bit out of the scope of this presentation. I wasn't prepared to talk about financing. I do want to make sure you understand how to access the PG&E rebates. So I'm not actually the expert to ask on that. So I'm going to have to defer that. We're running out of time here, so let's get through the quality assurance conversation here. Real quickly, we're doing quality assurance for probably the same reasons that SMUD's doing quality assurance. We want to offer solid consumer protections for our customers. We want to make sure that all of our participating contractors are consistently doing good quality work. We want to verify the safety of our customers. That's incredibly important. And our quality assurance program is a really important feedback mechanism. It's how we give you feedback about what's working, what's not working, what we need you to do better, or where we think that there's room for improvement. It's also feedback for us where we see what we need to do better, or where we can offer more training to help you in your work. So it's a very important process for us, and we expect everyone to cooperate and work with us very closely on the quality assurance. We are actively collaborating with CBPCA around quality assurance, and the key goal here is to avoid running you through two separate quality assurance processes and double sampling and making you do everything twice. And so we're actually finalizing an agreement with CBPCA where we can jointly do quality assurance and use the same quality assurance and report it to PG&E and report it to SMUD. And you may be surprised that we're able to coordinate that closely, and your surprise may be warranted, but we've been able to make that part work, and so that's the good news. A couple other good things about this. So we're not going to be duplicating our field verifications. The other good news about this collaboration, and I think it might be a change in how the SMUD program currently works, is that Our policy is to provide field verifications free to the contractors as long as it's the routine field verifications. And we'll talk about the ones that are not routine and the ones that we charge money for. But as long as it's the routine field verifications, we provide that to you free of charge. And you may be paying for field verifications now. If that's the case, then in the future those field verifications are going to be free. And so that's one way that this collaboration hopefully will make your life one little bit easier. Let's move on. The sampling protocols should be the same. It should not be any different from what you're used to. Focus right now on Tier 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to say a little bit more about Tier 0 in a second. Tier 1, 2, and 3 is the routine sampling. It's the random sampling. Tier 1 is when you first come into the program, looking at 3 out of your first 5 jobs, and then you move to Tier 4, and we look at 4 of the next 20. And then depending on whether you're a basic package or advanced package contractor, we can do either a 15% sampling rate or a 5% sampling rate. There shouldn't be anything different there. That Tier 0, I put that in there, that's purgatory. It is within your power never to be in Tier 0. The only reason you would ever get into Tier 0 is if you had a serious problem with a job, some past job, and we identified a callback issue, and we need you to go back and fix this health and safety issue, or some really important thing that you absolutely need to fix it. We can't just walk away from it, and you didn't do it. And if you don't do it, and we give you a reasonable period of time to make those corrections, but if you just ignore those and don't go back and fix those, our only leverage is to put you into Tier 0. And what this does is it kind of changes your status. Before we're going along and we assume you're doing a good job until you prove otherwise. When you get into Tier 0, we assume you're doing a bad job until you prove otherwise. And so what this means is that now every single job that comes up for a rebate, we're going to go out and do a field verification before we process the rebate. And that's a big difference. We're holding up the rebate until we do the field verification. When you were kind of in our good graces and going through Tier 1, 2, and 3, we're going to process the rebate, and we may or may not do the field verification before then, but we're not going to hold it up because we assume you're doing a good job. If we put you into Tier 0, it's just the opposite. We assume you're not doing well until you demonstrate to us otherwise. The other difference is that if you're Tier 1, 2, and 3, it's free. If you're in Tier 0, we're going to charge you for the visit. Field mentoring, an important part of our program. We want to make sure that you're getting every opportunity to learn and improve, and as much as possible, we want this field verification to be a learning exercise and not just us out there being the bad cop. And so we offer up to 5 free mentoring sessions where we'll come out and walk with you as you're doing your test out or going through the job, and we'll shadow you and give you advice and coach you as much as can and help you understand how to kind of meet the program standards on a regular basis. Great opportunity for you to bring all of your team out there and have multiple staff trained at once. If you combine it with your closeout, and you can actually make it part of your field verification, and your test out results can also double as our field verification measurements, because we'll look over your shoulder, make sure you did the test right, and we'll take that number and we'll use that same number. So what that means is if you're taking advantage of that field mentoring as part of your field verification, there's no reason why you should ever fail one of those verifications, and you should always be able to pass that. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of that. Treat us as your partner there to help you as much as police you. I talked about the fact that there are situations where we're not doing kinds of routine random sample field verifications. There are other scenarios that might trigger field verifications. Usually it's when we're investigating an issue. The things that typically trigger that is information back from the homeowner that says there's a problem. That could be when we call them about the combustion safety test and they say, oh, nobody ever showed up, nobody ever did a combustion safety test, I have no idea what you're talking about. It could be when they call our customer hotline and complain. It could be when they respond to our online survey and complain. Those kinds of things trigger an investigation, and we don't run out to the job site right away. We'll talk to the homeowner, we'll talk to you, we'll try to get as much information from our desk as we can, and maybe we go out, maybe we don't. But if we do need to go out and investigate in the field, that becomes what we call this corrective field verification, and that's one now that we're charging you for the visit, $500. Same thing, we're doing our paper review, and there's some stuff that just doesn't make sense, and it's really anomalous, and you can't explain it, and you don't have a photo, and the only way for us to process your rebate is to go out and investigate on site or to reject the job entirely. Those kinds of things where we have to make a special trip that we hadn't budgeted for, that's when we bill you, $500. I'm going to wrap up here real quick on the process. This should be familiar. We're doing our visual inspection. We're checking to make sure that the things you said are new improvements really are new improvements. We're redoing the test that you did, the blower door, your combustion safety test, your duct test, making sure that our results are close to your results. They don't have to be exact, but they need to be close. We're checking the inputs that went into your energy model and making sure that the big ones that have a big impact on the savings are accurate, consistent with what we see in the field. Again, we've got pretty detailed protocols that we're finalizing, and we're going to publish those so that you can see exactly what we're checking for, exactly what you need to do to make the field verification inspection happy. So there should be no unpleasant surprises. We've got through all of the heavy stuff. We'll put some contact information up on the screen, and let's take some more questions here from the message boards. We got 5 more minutes here, and covered a lot of ground. Let's see here. Is there an actual rebate form the contractor has to fill out? If yes, where do we get them at? SMUD has complete pads of forms we can just pick up at SMUD. The answer is no. You don't have a special form that you need to fill out. Your application consists of the JRT, the Energy Pro models, your combustion safety results. That's it. That's the application. And from that, we can pull out all the information we need to know about the job, who the homeowner is, where it is, the scope of the work, expected energy savings, everything we need to process that rebate. So there's not anything else that you have to fax or sign or scan or do any of this other stuff. Do we schedule field verifications through Green Compass? How many days in advance do you need before the test out? If you'd like to take advantage of mentoring, you'd like to schedule a field visit with us, shoot us an email, and we'll set that up for you. That jobs email that I sent, jobs@buildagreenutility.org, works just fine. You could also send to info@buildagreen. We've got a couple different emails, but either one will work. But yeah, send us an email, say, hey, you're going to close out a job on this date, and can we get a field verifier out there? And we'll do our best to get that scheduled with you and get out on site. Do you do the verification while we're doing the test out, or do you do it after we have completed the test out? We can do either. And we are willing to do it while you do the test out, and kind of make it easier for us to do the scheduling and save the homeowner another day off work. So we're trying to minimize the burden to the homeowner in particular. So we're willing to do it at the test out, and in those situations, of course, we're basically shadowing you and checking your results. So we're willing to do that. If we're not able to do the test out, then we will do a follow-up visit. Like I said before, as long as you're consistently doing good work, we're not holding up your rebate processing for that. We'll schedule that separately. And as long as you keep passing those field verifications, we'll just keep processing them. And the only time that we're going to hold those up is when you start having a pattern of failures. What days and hours are your verifiers available? I mean, basically, we work Monday through Friday. If you need a weekend consultation, ask us. We'll consider it. We're not making that a standard offer. Business days that we have pretty flexible work schedules. I've got a short list of reviewers. I got multiple people who can do reviews, so we'll just need to figure out kind of which reviewer is available which day and coordinate those schedules with you. So we'll have to do all that offline. But the first thing is just send us an email so that we know that you'd like to set that up, and we'll get that going. What if our test out is being done by a third party because of a financing program? Do you still want to verify those homes? Yes. we do not accept third-party results as a substitute for our own field verification. We will do our own field verification. We've run out of questions. We've got a few more minutes here. I'm going to pause, and if you've got any last questions, type them in. It's 9:55. We said we'd go till 10 o'clock. I want to make sure we get everybody's questions answered as much as possible. If you don't have any questions, I really do thank all of you for participating and listening and giving me your questions. I hope that this has been clarifying for you. Actually, I hope even more that I told you what you already knew. That would be even better. And I want to repeat again, we will be attending in person at next week's contractor meeting that SMUD is hosting in Sacramento. My colleague Young Chen will be there as part of the agenda, so you will have a second chance to ask follow-up questions, and we will make a good faith effort to answer every question you throw at us, and if we can't answer it on the spot, we'll research it and get back to you. Any other questions? You carefully submit the JRT versus the IJRT to Green Compass. Yes, I do care. For your past jobs that you submitted through CBPCA, we can actually work with the CBPCA version. It's not exactly the same as what we use, but it's close enough that if you submit that to us, we can work with that. So you don't have to go back and re-enter it into the new format. And going forward, I anticipate that we're actually going to phase out the JRT because the information you're putting into the JRT, we're also capturing in Encompass directly. So there is some overlap there. So we have a little bit of flexibility. We got a little bit less flexibility on the combustion safety stuff. I know you are submitting, I think you're submitting combustion safety data to CBPCA. It may not be everything we need, and that is something that we care about a lot. And so if we're missing some information, we're going to follow up with you and see if you've got it someplace else. It doesn't have to be in exactly our format for these legacy jobs. Going forward, just put it into our format so that we can make this a really smooth process and not get stuck trying to deal with all the exceptions. I don't want to make unnecessary work for you, but the easier you can make it for us, the faster we can turn your reviews around. So we'll do what we can. Will this webinar be posted on your website? We are recording it, and we will post this, and you can go back and review it. And that's a great exercise. If later down the road somebody from our team tells you something that conflicts with what I told you on this webinar, you can call us on that, and that'll be a great way to hold us accountable. So please go back and bookmark that resources page for future reference, and share this with your colleagues if someone wasn't able to attend today, and make sure everyone gets the word. One last question here, and then we'll wrap up here. On the combustion safety under test.info, that's left blank on the pre-install submission. And then filled out at the post-installation. So I think that's referring to the CBPCA form. We're going to have to follow up with you offline. I don't have enough information here to fully understand the question, so I'm not able to give you a clear answer. If you would, shoot me a question or shoot that question over to the jobs@buildagreenutility.org. Any other questions that I answered today that didn't answer that you need, you can email them to us, and we can track those down for you as well. So I guess the key thing I want to stress is that we want to reach out more to you and have closer communication with you, and I encourage you to reach out to us more with your questions as well, so that we don't leave you fumbling in the dark. And we'll do everything we can to process these legacy jobs and make this more routine for you going forward, so this isn't such a kind of a problem-solving kind of circumstance. Thank you all again for your participation. We are at 10 o'clock. I want to respect your time. So we're going to log off now, and look forward to seeing your rebate applications coming in, and working with you and our partners at CBPCA and SMUD to help you sell more jobs. Thanks, and have a great day.